Ho, ho, ho! Welcome to the imaginary ice cave of the internet. You can tell it's the Christmas special because illness is going around and we have croaky voices.
And a sniff.
Yeah.
And the baby's been ill. It's been fantastic.
We were going to record last week, but we had to postpone because it was just
too much work.
Anyway, we're here now. As you probably know, this is a podcast exploring life as a parent with babies, toddlers and preschoolers. Hopefully you can unwind to our wholesome mix of quirky humour and honest conversation. We're just kind of a bumbling amateur podcast with plenty of Disney references and, you know, blah, 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 all that spiely stuff.
All
you
the
get
good
the idea.
stuff.
Yeah. Do you listen to podcasts over Christmas, Emma?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
But mainly when I'm like cooking or doing some menial tasks.
Yeah. I always wonder about putting stuff out over Christmas, but, you know, I listen to as much stuff as ever, really, so...
Yeah, and then I get annoyed when people stop.
So whenever you're listening to this, whether it's, Christmas Eve or cooking Christmas dinner, if it's on Christmas Day itself, then I'm very impressed.
Yeah, put 10 points to whatever house you're in.
But whether it's the new year or it's years in the future, you're very, very welcome to the conversation today. We'll skip over the, I'm Elliot, you're Emma. We know this, but we'll get into a little factoid. I've got a couple of little fun little things to do at the beginning here. I thought I'd say right up the front, I'm a bit of a Grinch with Christmas, not particularly Christmassy. Are you Christmassy, Emma?
I'd say I'm pretty Christmassy.
I'd say you're quite Christmassy.
Yeah. I'd say I'm not the opposite to a Grinch because I'm not like excessive.
You're not like a year-round Christmas person.
No, but I'm a pretty big fan.
There we go. Thought a little question for you so people get to know us. What's your favourite like Christmas chocolate?
Ooh.
You know, like if you get a big box or any of the sort of, you can take it as far as you like in terms of.
Is it Quality Street?
Maybe.
I like the strawberry creams, and apparently that's an unpopular choice.
I don't think that's an unpopular choice.
According to Facebook, people are not fans of strawberry creams.
I'm a fan of that one. I think because it's very sweet.
I like that. I like the orange.
Yeah.
Don't give me any of the ones with nuts or coconut in.
Yeah. Or
Waste.
like the like really hard toffee penny.
Oh yeah, and get rid of them as well.
Yeah. Not good. I would probably say, actually, I'm not a big fan of the tubs in general, to be honest. I think some of my favourite Christmas chocolates are ones that aren't Christmas chocolates, like After Eights.
I was going to say After Eight was my favourite Christmas chocolate.
Or
Terry's Chocolate Orange, love one of them.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's quite Christmassy.
That's quite Christmassy, yeah. Where do you stand on the new flavours of chocolate orange that have come out? Are you aware of this?
I'm not aware of this. There's other flavours?
Yeah, they've brought out a whole range of different ones. One is just a milk chocolate circle thing, so it's like a chocolate orange but it's not orange.
I'm fine with
just
that.
Milk chocolate.
Some people don't like chocolate orange, so that's
I think
fine.
there's like a variety of other flavours now.
My
as well.
main thing is I just don't think they should do another fruit. That would seem sacrilegious.
Oh, like a chocolate apple.
Yeah.
I don't think they do that, but that would be hilarious. I would love that. Here's your chocolate pomegranate.
Yeah, I'm fine with all the flavours as long as they're not going to betray the orange and go to a different fruit.
The last chocolate I want to mention before we move on, we're quite a big fan of Lindor, those little chocolate ball things.
Lindt chocolate, yeah.
They're like, can be a bit pricey, so that's why they tend to come out at Christmas. Because, I'm a fancy boy. I like fancy chocolate.
Fancy boy. Lily likes them a lot too.
Yeah.
When we last had them. She kept sneaking over and taking them.
There you go, some chocolate, I was going to say a chocolate quiz. That's not a chocolate quiz, is it? It's a
chocolate
something.
discussion.
To start off the Christmas episode. Ding dong, it's parenting achievement time.
Oh, hello.
I've come
Sounds like
caroling.
you were ringing the bell, you see.
Yeah, but instead of carols, I'm just going to tell you my issues.
Oh, okay.
Just tell you what's gone wrong this week.
And then we give you money to leave.
Yeah, that's it. So various funny things have been happening in our house recently.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I haven't coughed all day till this point.
I know. We're back to the illness where we have to edit out all the coughs and sneezes.
I've been talking for an hour to my sisters while I was multitasking. Did I cough once? No.
This is the problem. I'm going to blame your sisters.
They waste all my good energy.
Lost your voice talking to them. Oh, we've had various funny stuff going on this week in our household. We have obviously been dealing with the challenge of a newborn who's been ill and throwing up, and it's been horrible. I put a little insert in last week's episode just to update people on that. But yeah, if you didn't catch that, as well as the first few weeks had gone, it's definitely been a big challenge since then with illness going around.
Yeah. I mean, I think she's getting better now. She's drinking better anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But there's been like funny moments as well with the challenges of having a newborn. Namely, we've both been dropping food on Lola's head.
yes. It's like, why has she got this stain on her top? And I'm like, yeah, dropped whatever I was eating, spaghetti bolognese, whatever it is. And I was like, I did drop it on her head too, but luckily I managed to get that bit off.
Because, it's a very typical parenting achievement that with a baby, you tend to eat one-handed with a baby.
And she won't let you put it down, which is
Yeah.
obviously natural, but it means you have to. And I'm not a coordinated person at the best of times. So, yeah, I think I'm the main culprit for dropping food on her.
Another achievement this time with the elder child. You had a fun time. You made a big old activity for her to do one day.
Yeah.
You tried to do a construction activity.
Like
do you
a
want to explain?
construction site. So it's got like little diggers. And I got these little bricks from Amazon that like toy little rubber bricks.
So it's like a big messy tray.
Yeah, like a big messy tray activity. And then some old cereal had gone off. Chucked that in. I was like, I've made all these sheets that are educational, counting like how many trucks or whatever it is.
You'd printed a load of stuff
Printed
off.
a load of stuff off,
You put a lot of effort into this.
laminated them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Done stuff that she could do Play-Doh on
Yeah.
to make different shapes.
You'd found in our dress-up box some old hard hats.
Yeah.
You thought you could dress up in.
Yeah,
To do a whole
went
kind of
all out.
whole theme.
Went for the whole theme. Did she? Well, the thing is, she did play with it. Just not at all in the way that I expected. The construction site turned into Anna and Elsa's wedding venue. And they were getting married, so we had to make an aisle for them to go down. None of the trucks were used at all. They're not touched, left. They were just taken out because they were getting in the way of the aisle.
Yeah.
The hard hats were used as baby cots to put her babies in.
She's such a girly girl.
Such a girly
like,
girl.
You've made her this like great activity all around.
Yeah.
I'm sure a little boy would have loved it. Construction trucks
And
and,
I
diggers
thought
and hats.
she might. I was like, hey.
We try our best to make sure she's,
Yeah.
a well-rounded child. But no, what does she want to do? She wants
No.
to pray little girly,
Yeah.
like
Obviously
babies and
get
weddings.
People get
and
married and there's babies in hats.
it was an achievement. You made an activity and she played with it in completely a different way.
Yes, that's true. Really, it's just very inventive of her. She
Yeah.
saw it and didn't see a construction site.
Yep.
I even made little signs that were like, construction site, warning, wear a helmet.
I think that's what makes it so funny.
Yeah.
It's just the amount of effort
The
you'd gone
effort I
to,
went to.
and the way she was like, no, I'm just going to play with my
Yeah.
babies in this thing you've made me.
Especially considering we've got like a newborn who's ill. I was going all out to make this activity.
It moves me so much. Like I walked back in the room and
Yeah.
like you had this construction site and like she was like walking her Anna and Elsa down an aisle.
Down the aisle,
and you
yeah.
turned to me and were like, they're getting married. And I was like, oh, I see. Right. Well, this is deviated
Yeah.
quickly.
Surprise!
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
I feel like Christmas is a opportune time for things not to go to plan. So do let us know with your stories what's happened with you this week or whenever you're listening to this in the future. Yeah, I was going to say in the past, but that doesn't really work. Just get in touch and send us some stories and we'll share them on a future episode.
Yeah.
Stick on your favourite Christmas film and let's jump into some conversation today. We did a Christmas special. You're right there.
Yeah, I'm just going to eat a spoonful of honey
A spoonful of honey.
to make myself feel a bit better.
Right.
Sorry, you keep talking.
Okay, I'm getting distracted by Emma eating a spoonful of honey over there for her throat. So we did a Christmas special last year, which I recently re-listened to, and it was a good episode actually. I recommend looking it back to
It's
it.
because I'm licking the
'Cause you're
spoon.
licking your
That's right.
spoon of honey over there. We had our guest, our friend Vicky, on.
We did.
And we chatted all about kind of, particularly at that time, we had 2.5-year-olds and the kind of challenges around Christmas with toddlers. So we won't repeat some of that. I mean, we might touch on how like some of that's changed, some of
Yeah.
those things. It's different now. Like we don't have a 2.5-year-old, but we do have a 3.5-year-old and a newborn.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of different challenges. So we might touch on some of those later on in the episode. And we talked a bit about church as well and what we do around church at Christmas time. But I thought this time to do something a bit different, we could talk a bit about kind of faith and the nativity story and how we deal with that. So this is your warning, really, your disclaimer that we are going to touch on and go into some faith conversation in this episode. If that's not your thing, then that's absolutely fine. There's some time codes down below and you can jump ahead to where we get back into the parenting conversation. But it will still be parenting related, about how we navigate some of Christmas and faith, the interaction there when you have kind of children under 5. But it feels like it's Christmas time. It's often a time when people do engage with some church or Christian stuff. And so it seemed like an opportune time for us to talk a little bit about faith and how our faith interacts with Christmas and how we're navigating some of the challenges of dealing with the Christmas story. And of course, this is coming from our perspective as people with a very liberal faith. We're not particularly religious or overly churchy people. We're not particularly biblical or literal with a lot of that stuff. Because equally, if you're really into Christmas and church and faith and the Christmas story and hold that quite strongly as a religious person, then maybe some of the conversation isn't your cup of tea either, and you might want to skip ahead.
Do you want to do Nativity first or Father Christmas first?
Let's do Father Christmas first. I mean, like, this could have been mentioned in the fail section, to be honest, but we've had a funny going on this year where it's the first year that Lily is properly aware of everything. And we talked a bit about Father Christmas in our last year's Christmas special, but at that point we could fully control the narrative, really. Around what she understood was going on, and she could understand words but didn't understand
concepts, really. Like that,
whereas now we basically have a child and it's about, we actually, but Father Christmas, she also has influences from elsewhere.
She does,
So for a little period, we've had a while where she thought Father Christmas and Santa were two different people.
Yes. Because obviously culturally a lot of people call him Santa Claus, she thought they were two different figures, like two different people.
Because I think we talked about Father Christmas at home,
and
then like nursery and other places talked about Santa.
And if she watches like an English TV show like Ben and Holly, he's Father Christmas.
But a lot of TV shows are American.
Well, one of her favourite Christmas ones is, I think it's Mickey and Minnie Wish Upon a Christmas or Once Upon a Christmas. And he's Santa in that.
Yeah. What's it in Bluey when they talk about it? What is he there? I think he's Santa.
He's Santa because he's Veranda Santa.
Yeah. It's kind of an American kind of
I'm resisting.
Yeah,
I keep calling him
we're not a
Father
fan,
Christmas.
are we?
I don't know why either. It's a ridiculous thing to be silly about. But
I know. I have more of a problem with like Americanisms than I do with like faith. I'd be perfectly fine if we like didn't talk about Jesus, but I get more annoyed if we like talk about Santa. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So a bit of a mix-up, a bit of a confusion going on. I think we've established now she's understood that they are the same person.
Yes.
Father Christmas is a fantasy imaginary character that we teach our children kind of is a real person. Like we let them believe that they're a real...
Well, we really feed into it. Most people, you leave them out things to eat.
Exactly, And that kind of muddies the waters a little bit then when if like us, if you believe in a God and things, that you want to say like, oh, Jesus and God are it's a real person. That's a real, it's not a fairy tale. Then that's kind of a bit confusing to be like, oh, well, this story wasn't real, but this story, which is equally unbelievable, is real.
Yes, true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I don't have as much of a problem with it.
Yeah.
Because I always think it'll be up to our children whether they believe in any of the things we believe anyway.
Yeah.
And it's all about their own discernment. So, for instance, with Father Christmas, you eventually can realise he's not real because you're like, oh, wait a minute, that writing looks rather like my parents' writing. And it seems odd that these things suddenly appear. And I've never seen, there's lots of things that maybe help you realise as you get older that he doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And I would want them to question that with faith as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't necessarily have a problem with it.
I think I'm in a similar position where...
Other than people blindly telling them, I wouldn't ever lie to them if they said, is Father Christmas real?
This is the problem, isn't it? I don't really like the whole lying to kids thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like an ethos thing that we have across everything.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. We do little white lies sometimes, I don't know, that this place is closed today.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
we can't go.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And there's things with parenting, isn't there? All the time. You'll resonate with this, don't you? That what you aim to do and what you sometimes actually end up doing are completely different things. So often on the podcast, we do tend to talk about our ideal parenting. And that's why we have things like parenting achievement segments, because it's about actually the reality, it never often works quite that way. Yeah, I mean, I think I have a problem with when faith is presented as very literal, and therefore it seems very odd to then also say that, Santa exists. To me, it's all fairy tales. It's all myths. Faith people might not like me saying stuff like this, but we'll get
You
into
could
it a
argue
bit
there's
more.
a whole mythos around Christianity, even if it's not a myth.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? There's parts that are more myth than I would say reality.
Yeah, but like, there's like what is St. Nicholas or whatever. Like,
Yeah, there's truth to him. I was going to say, it's interesting how it's changed. So recently we saw a Father Christmas at the ballet Christmas party.
oh yeah,
Obviously nowadays you don't sit on Father Christmas's knee.
Yeah.
You stand beside him and have like a little side hug. And Lily really liked seeing Father Christmas, actually. But I was saying for a lot of children it's very scary. So I was talking to my sister this morning. Well, two of my sisters. And they recently went to see her Father Christmas at this like farm park place. She wouldn't go anywhere near him. Sat miles away. And Kirsty was saying it's so funny. The man who was playing Father Christmas was like, I'm assuming you wouldn't like a photo. And Kirsty was like, nope, don't think that's going to happen.
yeah.
And my sister in France, she's listening, so she's got to mention, she was saying how her second youngest, he hates the idea of seeing Father Christmas. He likes the idea of presents, but he is terrified of the idea of him. So I was thinking he's quite a scary character, clearly,
Yeah.
for a lot of children. Ways that he comes in your home.
Just
Uninvited.
yeah, goes into your bedroom sometimes. Like it's a bit weird, and like it's kind of, and the unhelpfulness around the whole kind of naughty and nice and like using him as a fear tactic to encourage good behavior. I
But
feel
I
like
can see why. This isn't a judgment call. Like when you're in a desperate situation, I
True,
see why
true.
parents go there.
true. Yeah, it's a good
Like,
point. It's
I
just,
know we haven't gone there yet, but
Yeah.
I can see it happening about
it's something
suddenly.
we try to avoid. Again, it's this whole like what we would like to do and what does the reality look like. But like it feeds very much into that conversation we had a few episodes ago with Nigel and Sue about toddler emotions
Yeah.
and like trying to, and the whole kind of fear and shame thing around children, and that doesn't feel like a helpful way to. For us personally, not a fan of using Father
No.
Christmas as a way to try and encourage good behaviour. It's a difficult thing to navigate, isn't it?
It is. I was joking. I think Lily likes him because she knows a lot of old people from church. It's why she used to like looking at the Queen. I think she thinks they're vaguely familiar looking from like all the old people we know.
Yeah. And that's not even getting into the like whole challenge around kind of the faith and the distinction between fairy tales and reality. But I would say, I think even now Lily has a really good grasp on what's made up, what's imaginary, and what's real.
For a long time this year, she's not believed in Father Christmas at all.
Yeah.
It's only since influence from her friends at nursery has kind of convinced her.
And it's tricky because as a parent, I'm quite a down-to-earth person. I never really believed in Father Christmas growing up myself. I'm a very logical type of person. But equally, I want to encourage Lily to be creative and imaginative and to
Whereas
have...
I think I definitely believed in Father Christmas growing up.
Yeah. To me, a lot of the conversation comes back to this whole concept of like, is it real or not? That's kind of the question that the kid is asking. They're trying to figure out, is Father Christmas real or not? And then it's like, well, is the stories that we tell around faith, is the nativity story, is that real or not? Did it actually happen or did it not? And I really like, I've told you this before, but like that Bluey episode, people might be familiar with, because I think actually that question is kind of...
You haven't said which Bluey episode.
Yeah, I'll get on to it.
Oh, right, okay.
It's kind of an unhelpful, unnecessary question, like whether it's real or not. That's not really the thing to focus on. The episode is called... Is it called Fairy Tale?
Yeah, I think it is.
I really should have looked this up beforehand.
No, it is called Fairy Tale.
It's the one where they do flashbacks into the 80s with Bandit's upbringing and his brothers. And they're talking about fairy tales. And it's kicked off because Bluey's asked, they're reading a fairy tale bedtime story. And did it actually happen? Is it real or not? And Bandit kind of goes, well, it has a message. The message is real, but it's difficult to say whether it actually happened or not.
Yeah.
And the kids are struggling to understand this. And so he tells this story of how him and Chili met. But Chili comes in and says that's not what happened.
Yeah, I don't remember meeting you as a child.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It doesn't seem plausible, but it's a nice story. And so they say, well, did it happen or did it not? And he said, well, that's up to you. You decide whether it happened. The message and the outcome is kind of the same.
It's like they say there's like truth to every story. I did want to say there's probably some pluses about Father Christmas too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like showing he's like a kind old man who gives people presents. Like it's like a joyful little person.
Yeah.
It's only the good or bad thing that's a bit iffy. Is it Netflix or Disney? Klaus.
Yes.
If people watch that, it's got quite a nice message.
Hot take. I think that's my favourite Christmas movie.
Oh, I was going to ask you that later.
Oh.
Yep.
There we go. That or the Grinch, like the modern Grinch.
I really
This is
enjoy the modern
another
Grinch.
hot take. I think the modern animated Grinch is better than the original.
I agree with that. And I was talking to some of the parents at ballet, and they also prefer this Grinch to the old Grinch.
Very good.
Most of us were like, it's a better message. He's not just naughty. Like,
Yeah.
you see his backstory
Yeah.
a lot more. And
Yeah. We're kind of picking apart a lot of the Christmas things here with throwing around words like fairy tale when it comes to Bible stories.
Yeah.
But like as Christians, I'm not really that fussed about us sticking rigidly to doing lots of churchy stuff because there's so many different things going on over Christmas. There's like 30 plus religious and secular holidays
Yeah.
over like November and December and January. So I have no problem with people like saying happy holidays or season's greetings and stuff like that.
I only have a problem with Xmas because I think it sounds nasty to say. It's just not pleasing to the ear.
To me, feels like another Americanism.
Well, maybe. Don't know.
Like, that's why I'm not a big fan of it. It's not really a Christian holiday anyway, so it's like,
No.
you know.
I sent him loads of links while I was up late at night with the baby.
I find it very funny because a lot of people think I'm very radical with faith and like I kind of, rock the boat a bit. But people don't always know that you're very radical as well. And you're actually, you know a lot more than me, so actually you're much more capable of
Yes, of arguing.
picking stuff apart.
Yeah. And I think I've always been pretty liberal.
Yeah.
So some ideas you like are thinking about now, I've kind of always thought about. My main thing is Christmas isn't really a Christian holiday at all. It's a pagan/Roman holiday because they had two festival-y things going around that time. The fact we have lights on the tree is like, I think that's a pagan thing, really. And
a lot of our traditions
and now
are
it's like,
adopted.
oh, it's to do with him being the light of the world. I'm like, we've just taken that and been like, we'll make it into a Christian-related
The
thing.
whole light of the world thing, I mean, that's all to do with like the winter solstice and
Yeah.
about the light coming back.
But I mean, I'm fine for them to adapt it. But I think when Christians are very critical of people
Yeah.
taking over Christmas, I want to be like, well, we took it over. It wasn't our thing at all. People didn't used to celebrate Christmas. His birth wasn't considered.
Jesus wasn't born on 25th of December.
No.
Like, it's just a bit ridiculous.
We didn't, as Christians, I don't think we used to celebrate his birth till like, I say fairly recently in terms of Christianity, not as in like, you know.
Oh, there's loads of stuff like that where like the Victorians established so much
Yeah,
tradition.
they did.
And we've just assumed that, oh, well, we've always done this.
We've always done it,
all the
yeah.
carols we sing, they're all like Victorian carols. That's their cultural stamp.
And Christmas
on
trees,
our-
it's a
yeah.
German tradition they brought
Yeah,
over the
yeah.
Victorians.
Just
And
do whatever.
I'm quite pro-tradition in that I love a good Christingle service,
Yeah.
like a carol service, like a crib service, like them all.
So far, we've not taken our kids to a lot of stuff because they've been quite little. And I just
And
feel
things
like,
are quite late.
yeah, like a lot of Christmas services aren't ideal for taking kids to. Some of them try to be, but even then, like a 4 p.m. crib service or something, still a bit late.
It is. Well,
Like-
considering Lily's time, if she's going to get grumpy, it's going to be in the afternoon. And then if you're expecting her to be on her best behaviour, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, so maybe in future years we'll return to doing some churchy stuff around Christmas, but at the moment we don't really bother
Yeah.
too much. We go to what we can, but if it doesn't work with our schedule, we
Yeah,
don't
it
worry
doesn't
ourselves
work,
too
yeah.
much. We've been chatting a lot recently about the Nativity story, and about how a lot of that is kind of embellished and not literal. Or at least, like for us, a lot of it isn't.
Or a lot of it's symbolic.
Yeah,
So they've purposely put certain characters in it to symbolise
Yeah.
what they're hoping for it
like a myth and a fairy tale.
to. Yeah, true.
Did we want to do any more specific picking apart of the Nativity story or not?
Yes.
Okay, that was a very
We
resounding
were discussing
definite.
it earlier and I wanted to mention it.
Yep, okay, go for
I
it.
have a big problem that we put a lot of emphasis on the fact that Mary was a virgin.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly because A, I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
B, as we've discussed, it's a translation error more than anything else. That wasn't mentioned at all.
Most
because-
likely a young maiden, and
Yeah.
we've made connotations about what that means about her sexual
Exactly.
stuff.
When I might, frankly, nobody's business. And
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me if she or wasn't.
Yep.
I I get more annoyed that I remember when I was growing up in church, they would like always be like the Virgin Mary, like it was her main positive trait was that she was this virginal person.
It's a whole purity culture thing.
Yeah.
And like in a lot of our liberal churches and things, we try to pretend that we're not high control religion. We're not evangelical Christians. We're not like in America where it's all quite culty. And we're very much less culty. We still have a lot of this residue which still kind of ties us to it, that is kind of purity culture.
And also, I have a big thing that, like, as a child, I didn't know what that word meant, but it was said so often, like, you'd question it. And I would think, if Lily asked me, oh, why is she the Virgin Mary? I don't know how I'd answer that.
Yeah.
We've explained kind of procreation to it in the form of science, like there's an egg and a sperm. I'm like, how would I go about at this age going like, well, it's someone who hasn't done a certain thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in it anyway, but a lot of people...
I just think it is so problematic.
Yeah.
I don't mind if they mentioned it in passing, but it's a fact. It's like always put together as a phrase.
And this is kind of why we're discussing this now, because Lily's got to that point where she is getting a lot of external influence. So things like this, particularly around Christmas, when so much of it is so common in, you know, just the language of what's being said around Christmas, that it feels like she will pick up words, will pick up things, and that will lead to conversations. And we're just
she's very
interested in discussing how we will deal with all that.
Yeah, because she's very interested in language and words at the minute. I don't think I'm equipped to handle that question.
There's so many things like that, but I think it will be nuanced conversation over a long time. You know, like even if she asked about like angels, or asked about what does prophecy mean, or like there's so many things within the Nativity story that are just said as if that's just the reality. They're just normal everyday things that we all accept.
I feel like at least an angel, there's a tangible thing you can point to and go, that is an angel.
I suppose. I think it's perfectly possible to have the nuanced conversation with children without it needing to be black and white, to be like, this is real and this is not real.
Yeah.
And there's a temptation with kids to simplify it like that, you know, this is a depiction of an angel, that's what it is. And to me, it's unsatisfactory. It reminds me, I mentioned it to some of our Christian group within the Kairos movement. It reminds me a lot of science at school, where in the early days of science, you know, secondary school, they teach you one thing. You move up several years, maybe you get to GCSEs and then A-levels, and depending how far you went with science, and you discover actually, oh no, there's like a deeper thing going on there. And the first thing you were told was completely wrong.
Yeah.
Because they were simplifying it so much that actually it was just inaccurate.
Well, even now, like sometimes you'll say something to me about science and I'm like, oh, well, I never did it to that higher degree. So I never knew that because I wasn't taught that. I was just taught the basic level.
Yeah, and I feel like we do that a lot with faith as well. We simplify it so much that to try and tell kids, and then it becomes very black and white. And then that's just kind of unhelpful going forward.
Yeah, true.
Like my faith isn't black and white. It's very nuanced about which bits, you know, it's very difficult to pinpoint what I think is real and what I think is not. I don't think a lot of it is literal. But I think we can start to have some of those conversations with Lily.
Oh, well, Lily already has a lot of them. At one point, she really liked reading this little Bible book somebody gave us for her dedication. And there's a picture of Moses parting the waves. And I was discussing it with her. And she was going, well, that's not real. And I was like, well, it could be. It's a bit like Moana when she parts the waves. And she was like, well, Moana's not real. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess. And then I didn't know what to say. But I was like, you know what? She's coming up with her own opinions.
Yeah.
You know, I'm fine for her not to believe it.
Yeah.
Like,
we're not about indoctrination.
No. I'm like, I'd like her to know some of the stories and she can make up for that. Because it's more, I think with a lot of Christianity, I think it's more the meaning you get from it rather than if you think it's real or not.
Yeah. Well, is there any more heretical things we want to talk about to do with faith and Christmas and kids?
This is a side note I thought was quite funny. I told Ellie earlier. As a child, I thought Jesus was just a baby because there was such a big deal made of Christmas rather than, you know, his life, that as a child I was like, well, he's a baby. How is he doing all this stuff?
He only exists. Oh, so did you think he only existed as a baby? Or do you thought, like, he did everything, all of the stories
as a baby? Yeah. Because
like walked on water as a baby.
The depictions I'd seen of him, he was a baby. And I was like, I don't think a baby could do all this stuff. Maybe we make a bit too much of the Christmas story because as a child I was a bit confused.
So yeah, be fascinated to know if you are a Christian out there, how do you navigate some of the, what goes on around that and how you talk to your kids about it. Or if you're not someone of faith, how you found any of this conversation. I've no idea. Last time we talked a bit about advent calendars, and that really didn't go well last year, but this time worked a lot better.
It has. If anything, it's worked too well. Now she picks out the item because it's got a frozen advent calendar.
So we haven't done chocolate this year. She's got one.
She eats far too many sweet things anyway.
She's got one that gives her little
hair bobbles or hair
accessories
clips to do with frozen. But she takes it out, looks at it, and then puts it back in the advent calendar because she thinks she has to keep them all in there till Christmas. So she's going to look amazing on Christmas because that's when she's decided she's going to put them all in her hair.
She's going to put them all on together at Christmas.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
It's going to be a strong look.
We talked a lot about kind of overstimulation and routines and naps and all that kind of stuff because over Christmas, a lot of it goes out the window.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit easier this time. She no longer naps, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, like in my mind, we have moved stages, really. We don't really have a toddler anymore. We kind of have, I don't know what you call it, like...
A small child.
A small child who can kind of roll with stuff a little better. She can cope a little better out of the routine. I'm still really conscious of trying to make sure she doesn't get completely drained through just so much stuff going on. But,
and also, I'll be very thinking that I'm like, she doesn't have to be perfect. She doesn't have to behave perfectly because that's going to be impossible.
But we can like reason with her now. There's like, I feel like stuff has improved. Whereas before we were in the thick of just like meltdowns that are just illogical and you can't do a lot about.
I mean, I'm not saying she still isn't illogical sometimes.
Yeah, 100%.
Normally, 50% of the time you can get her to calm down and be logical. And I mean, she can be illogical the other 50% of the time, but it's much better odds than it used to be.
Yeah.
And she can remember people better, so it's a bit easier.
Yeah.
So in all those things, it's much easier.
So I think in that regard, things, the challenges are maybe slightly less.
Yeah.
Maybe for our eldest. But we obviously now have the added challenge of having a newborn in the mix as well. So we go right back to the beginning.
Which is fine because in some ways she doesn't have a schedule.
Yeah.
She's kind of a semi-feeding schedule and she's getting better with her gaps, but it's not like she has a nap at a certain time when we have to be home.
No. In that regard, you're absolutely right. But the challenges then are around like everyone wanting to hold the baby.
Yeah, we're going to be very unpopular. So if people know, my family have an annual Christmas party, normally in a village hall because there's so many of us.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. You should know, quadruple it, lots of us.
Yeah. There's lots of extended family as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's great-grandchildren now.
Yeah.
So like...
So my nephews and niece are about only a few years younger than me.
Yeah.
They've all started having children.
Yeah. I forget exactly, but I think if everyone were to turn up, and not everyone is always available every year... it's like 30 to 40 people now. And I mean, I know like 5 or 6 of them are babies.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. It's a
lot of people. Yeah, so we're going to be vastly unpopular because we're the only people there with a newborn. My sister Becky will be there with a 5-month-old. We're having a hard rule that no one's holding the baby at the party, which I haven't informed them yet. I'm going to inform them the week before. And if people don't like it, tough. But I know it will go down like a lead balloon. If you can hear from my terrible coughing throughout this episode, we've already got an illness. Lola, our little baby's had it, and it's been horrendous with her throwing up.
It's been horrendous.
And I've been terribly depressed because she kept throwing up on me.
It sounds very superficial, but like the more problem is like she throws up, but she's not drinking enough. So like we're trying to get her to drink enough in a 24-hour period.
And then you feel like you've finally done it, and then she's a big throw up, and you're like, oh, great.
Yeah. And it's like after every feed, and it's just relentless.
Luckily,
and she doesn't take drinking well. She cries like...
The last 3 days, she has seemed to have turned a corner and is drinking much better again. And she's only done like 1 bad throw up a day. But it's made me way more cautious because I'm like, it's not serious. I'm not worried about her well-being. But having to live with it for 2 weeks has been horrendous.
And us being ill at the same time. It's been so difficult.
So I'm like, if we could avoid, it's unavoidable that Lily has to go to nursery because we couldn't cope without it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not risking with everybody at the party holding the baby, just giving more colds.
I think people will think you're giving yourself an excuse that I don't think's necessary. Like we have a newborn. We shouldn't need to justify that people can't hold the newborn, because that's just a thing. That's just
Yeah,
like
it's
we're
true.
going to a big event. We're not just going to pass our baby round the
Yeah.
crowd. I know it's
It's
family,
true.
but it's extended family.
Yeah.
Like,
And especially some of them, I don't really see more than once a year anyway. In
and
which case it'd be okay.
you can't have a rule where it's like only these people can hold the baby, but no one else can.
Yeah,
Because it just
exactly.
becomes unfair. Like, who
Yeah.
do you pick? Your family, you have so many sisters. Like, you
Yeah.
just have to have a hard and fast rule. No one's holding
No,
the baby.
exactly. Because otherwise it just causes trouble.
The other challenge that's kind of quite similar when it comes to families and things like that, we just talked a lot about last time about gifts. And I know it's an ongoing challenge, just like getting too many gifts, really.
Yeah.
Our kids have so many toys already. They don't need more toys. But like, you get loads of gifts, and it's just trying to manage that. Like, we did a whole episode a while ago on consumerism.
Yeah.
And just we don't want a load of new stuff particularly.
No, and I think I've seen a lot of social media going around. There's like 4 gifts. One, something they need, something to read.
4 gifts from one person.
No, overall. I don't know, but like if that's the only gifts they get, but like these are the only main gifts they have. Is something to read, something they need, something that's going to be useful. Clothes.
To wear, yeah.
Yeah. And I can't remember what the other one was, but maybe that's the fun thing, like a toy.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good idea because it does get excessive. And I'm primary example number 1. I'm to blame in this household. Like, I'm the main spoiler. I see something, I'm like, oh, they'll love it. I mean, particularly Lily, because Lola has no interest currently other than my boobs. So,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. But people will buy Lola stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
she's a baby. She doesn't need anything.
And she's just been given a load of stuff because she was only born a month ago.
Yeah, definitely.
We're just wrapping up stuff we've already got for her so that like Lily can play along that she's got toys.
We don't particularly have much advice about how to handle that. We really struggle with this whole thing ourselves. If you have any advice for us, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is generally one. It's a challenge, and we have no particular solution.
No. It's because I don't like being rude. Like, I don't like
Yeah.
not accepting gifts because it's kind of people to get them. But
Yeah. Just generally, like, how are you feeling going into like our first Christmas as a family of 4?
I'm very excited. Lily's really excited for Christmas this year because she finally understands the concept. Whereas before, she liked Christmas because you get gifts, but she had no understanding that it was Christmas. And she was very confused when we had snow. She was definitely sure the day it snowed must be Christmas because that's what happens in all the films is that there's snow.
One of the new challenges is that everything is just so much more chaotic now. Like, life is just more challenging generally because we've got an extra baby in the family. So Christmas is going to be no different. If you're long-time followers of kind of what we get up to, if you've listened to last year's special and we're listening to kind of what our traditions are, Emma shared a lot of what we get up to in that episode. And like, one difference is we're not having your sister Becky stay with us this year, obviously with a newborn in the house, and she's got a
Yeah.
young baby too. It's just going to be
not enough
too
space.
crowded and complicated. So that's different. But otherwise, a lot of our traditions are remaining like fluid.
We've done a nice new tradition this year. We went and picked our tree that's in a pot, and we picked decorations. So like Lily and Lola got 1 decoration each, which I thought was nice.
Yes.
That's a new tradition that we've added on.
Well, that is a thing we've done. I don't remember agreeing that it was a tradition.
Oh no, I don't think we
year.
should get a tree every year, but I think we should
Then
get
it's
a
not
new.
a tradition, is it?
Right,
The point of a tradition is you do it every year.
Right, I was meaning the decoration bit. I think should be a tradition.
Okay.
That you get a new decoration every year,
Right. Okay. I like that. That's fine.
and we have our other tradition. We get a new gonk every year.
Yes, gonks. I can't remember if we mentioned this last time,
No, I
but
don't know
yeah,
if we did.
big gonk thing. This was the thing last time. You know, it was you and Vicky talking, so I didn't really get much of an input on what we were
Yes,
saying.
true.
So we kind of got your side of the story, but my side isn't really that interesting, to be honest. Like, just like I don't have a lot of traditions that I'm bringing to Christmas, especially. So I'm like I said at the beginning, I'm a bit of a Grinchy kind of person. Approach is very similar story to the Grinch in some ways, but I always like to try and enjoy Christmas. But like, to me, it feels like since having kids, it's all been a bit up in the air. Like, we've never really come down and settled like, oh, these are the things we do at Christmas, these are our traditions, because you're just constantly juggling the
Well, I think
parenting
they're still
thing.
developing, aren't they?
Yeah. So I feel like it'll be a few more years yet before we kind of settle on.
Got this year is we're doing easy Christmas dinner. Because when people keep saying, what are you going to have for Christmas dinner to me? And I go, sausages. And everybody laughs.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been a bit wacky, haven't we?
Yeah.
We're a bit eccentric. Like, it's been quite a number of years since we've had turkey for Christmas dinner. We had goose one year.
Yeah,
and
we did.
duck and various other
Well,
things.
we're not big turkey fans.
No, well, we like to mix things up.
We do.
Like, ooh, Emma,
Yes.
it's a Christmas special, so I have a Christmas present for you.
Oh,
It's not wrapped up. It's not really a present because I didn't buy it.
what is it?
But I thought live on the podcast, I'd give you a gift.
It's an address book
Yep.
with addresses in.
Yes.
Do people want to guess why I've been given this? Because I'm writing all the Christmas cards as we speak. That's what I've been doing this morning, trying to juggle that and look after Lily.
Yeah.
Lily, Lola. I've done it again.
Yep.
Looking after Lola. I know my child's name, I do. We've discussed this before. All my cards are from all of us.
Yes.
So they're from me, Lily, and now they'll be from Lola too. When he writes a card, just from him, I don't know why there's a difference.
Well, only when I'm sending them to you.
Yeah, but mine are when I send them to you, they're from all of us.
Oh, I see.
Is it because I see myself as part of the children? Is it a me problem? Do I not have an identity by myself? Or is it a you problem? Do you not see yourself as
I've
part
never
of the
thought to add the kids into cards that I'm sending you personally.
No, I remember I always do.
Oh.
Birthday card, we're all in. Probably might not make it into the podcast episode, but I'm interested. Does everybody else add the kids' names, or do they just do it from them?
We better stop before our voices completely go.
Yeah, I know.
We've been tailing away. It was meant to be a fun episode, but it's kind of just been a coughing fiasco.
Yeah. Coughing fiesta, I'd call it.
Coffee, yes.
I don't know what you were saying, fiesto.
Fiasco is what I was going for.
I like coughing fiesta. I think that's better.
It's a coughing fiasco.
It's a party of coughs.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Goodness me. Well, that's over.
I was going to ask you what your favourite film is, but you said it earlier.
Oh, yes. Klaus.
Yes.
Favourite Christmas film.
Well, I was going to ask what was your favourite childhood Christmas film?
We didn't watch any.
Oh. Well, that's quite sad, isn't it?
I told you I'm a bit like the Grinch. We never watched any Christmas film. I think I was about 17 before I saw my first Christmas film.
Wow. Okay. Do you want to guess what my favourite Christmas film was? It's a classic.
A classic. Well, it probably doesn't help because I haven't seen many Christmas films.
You'll know it.
Like Home Alone?
Yeah, Home Alone was one of our favourites. We used to love watching them.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I'd show it to Lily. It's got a lot of violence in it.
Yeah, it's true.
But really found it hysterical as a child.
Hope you all have a fabulous Christmas, or if it's past, hope you have
Hope you've had a lovely Christmas.
Yeah. Have a good New Year.
Yeah.
We'll be back in 2025 with more podcast episodes.
Yeah. Hopefully not with a cough.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have shaken this illness. Hopefully we'll get rid of this illness by Christmas.
Yeah.
But I feel like it sums
We've
up...
only got a week.
It sums up the Christmas kind of
Yeah, it does, yeah.
festive period perfectly.
Everybody's ill.
Everybody's ill. It's normally what happens.
That was a tradition as a child. Normally someone was always vomiting in the background.
Traditions.
There was so many of us kids, there was bound to be one of us sat ill. The whole thing, he has to cut out me coughing and then cut out me going, I'm so sorry. I just had more things for him to have to edit out.
Yeah, and this is the one where we're recording it quite last minute anyway, so I've only got a few days before we want to release it.
Well, I mean, you could keep it in. They can see how ill I am.
It could just be a really long episode with no edits.
How dedicated I am to doing this podcast.
Sleep well, God bless, and remember, don't wake the baby. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, jingle those bells.
Don't wake the baby. Shh.